Hello, this is the inaugural video for Mobile Mondays. This is going to be a new segment that I do where I solve mobile challenges on Mondays, hence Mobile Mondays. So, our first challenge, we're going to solve the first challenge of the IGLearner app. So, let's get started. Okay. You'll see my screen here, and I have the latest version of the Intro to Android Security virtual machine. The current version is 2.1.0. This is a great upgrade because I added Android Studio, SDKs. I received feedback from people saying, hey, why don't you have Android Studio? So I added it, as well as try to clean up some things. I also added some additional apps that you can see, or I should say you can find, in the documents directory. So if we click that, we will see, okay, I included the Crack Me apps. I have Crack Me Telegram, and I have this injured Android 1.0.10, which is the latest version. So I added new vulnerable apps for students or just anyone to play with. But now let's get started with our actual lesson. As you can see, I have the intro to Android virtual machine open to my left, and I have my Android x86 emulator open to my right. Now, when you are doing mobile testing, you will ideally want to do it on your phone, but if you don't have a spare phone to actually do this with, you should not do it with your main phone because you can mess up the settings, and if you root your phone and you have a warranty, you have effectively voided your warranty. So if you don't have a spare phone, laying around, an emulator is the next best thing because it emulates a phone and you can do some mobile testing and hacking from there. So now, first what we're going to do is we need to get our IP address. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the terminal emulator, and I'm going to type the command ifconfig, which will display IP addresses inside of the emulator. So as you see, we have quite a bit. And the one we want, though, is the WLAN 0 or wireless LAN. So the 192.168.192. Note, this will be different for your emulator once you boot it. Again, for mine, this is the IP address that was assigned to me. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to my terminal. Go back to the Intro to Android Security virtual machine, go to terminal, and we're going to use ADB or Android Debug Bridge. And what essentially this is going to allow us to do is to have our virtual machine talk to our, in this case, our emulator, but it could be an actual mobile device and vice versa, meaning it will be two-way communication to the virtual machine and the emulator back to the virtual machine. So to actually start this process, we're going to say ADB connect, and we're going to use the IP address we have, 192.168.192. And as you can see, we have successfully connected to 192.168.192 on port 5555. So for ADB, that's the default port, 5555. Great. Now, solve the first challenge of the IGLearner app. So let's do some reverse engineering. So inside of the Intro to Android Security virtual machine, if we go to the menu, there is a reverse engineering menu, and we have this application JADX GUI. So what JADX GUI does is a reverse engineering application, and what it does is we can take an APK Android app. We can take a jar, which is a Java archive, a zip. We can take a multitude of things and then reverse engineer to see the under the hood of an Android app. So what we're going to do, we're going to click on the IGLearner APK. And it has opened. So we're going to go to lesson 1. And for every Android app, you have to have an activity. So every Android app, there is an activity, a main activity, I should say, excuse me, a main activity. And so what the main activity does is it's a entry point into your Android application. So in this case, I'm going to the lesson 1 activity because we want to solve the first lesson. Now, what I'm going to do is, well, first I should say, let me back up a little bit. We have successfully, so I should back up and say, right now we're looking at the source code of this application. And for Java and for Android applications, they are written in Java. Also, it can also be written in C if there are other libraries that are being used, but for the most part, it is Java. So right now, this is Java code. So we are essentially looking at the code of this Android app. So if we scroll down and we're trying to find things that will essentially pique our interest. So we see lesson 1 on submit, click. It's like, okay, that might seem cool. So here we see this display toast message, and we see 2 strings. And a string is, you can have that as characters, numbers, pretty much anything you want. So we see 2 variables, yay and nay. So as you can imagine, yay is, okay, we've solved the challenge. Nay is we have not. So we see here, it says get resources, and we're getting a string, and it's saying pop-up challenge success. So we're going to keep that in mind. So if we scroll down some more, we see this fill log with garbage. What does this function do? We first define an integer of a non-secure random integer, and we're looking for the next random item or random number. And so we're saying we're doing a for loop, so we're looping, and it's saying, hey, if I equals to the non-secure random int, we have this log here, and it's saying, hey, here, get resources, get string, challenge string, and then this challenge. Or it's saying else, again, we're doing a log, and it's saying garbage log string, and then generate challenge. So from this block of code, we will want to look at the line 125, because line 129 is saying garbage log string. So that kind of gives us a hint that this isn't going to help us because it's garbage. So if we look here and it says R string challenge string. So if we hold down the control and left click, we see that this points to a random, well, it points to numbers. It's like, okay, how does this help me? Well, if you look at the top here, we are in the R package. So what R package that can be used for resources, meaning this number actually corresponds to text. But where would we find the text? Well, on the left-hand side, we see resources here. So if we click on the key, so from res, if we click on this resources.arsc, we see another res. Clicking on that, clicking on values, and then going to strings, we see the text equivalent. So here we're on lesson 1. So what we're looking for is pop-up challenge success. So we have opened the string. So what we're actually looking for is we are looking for challenge string here, because remember in the activity we see r.string challenge string, r.string garbage log string. And again, remember this pointed to numbers, and then actually opening the strings.xml, we see the challenge string and we see the garbage log string. So, and as I suspected, the garbage is, this is garbage, the challenge value is whatever. We don't want that because again, it's garbage. So the challenge string says this is not garbage, the challenge value is whatever. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight this and we're going to copy. And then what we're going to do is we're going to open our terminal. And we're going to go to File, New Tab. And so, again, going back to the Lesson 1 activity, we see here that this is a log. So we can actually use ADB to view logs. And how we do that is we say ADB log cat. And then what we're going to do, we're going to use pipe, because what this is saying is saying, okay, use the output of this command and feed it as input to our new command. And the new command is grep. And then we're going to paste the string from challenge string. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the 6 dots. I'm going to go to IGLearner here because that is the learner app. And here we're doing lesson 1. Sorry, I'm making it bigger. So I'm going to click on this. And if we click on see instructions, it says this lesson just dumped a whole bunch of output to the Android log. The secret code is lurking somewhere in there. Find it, and when ready, enter the code in the provided box and press the submit button to see if you are correct. So again, so we know we're looking for a particular string. This is not garbage. The challenge value is blank. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to say ADB log cat, which will invoke logging inside of Android debug bridge. I'm going to pipe that, and I'm going to use the grep command, and I'm looking for a particular string. This is not garbage. The challenge value is. So if I press enter, we have output. And as you can see, our code that we're searching for is red. So it's saying this is not garbage, the challenge value is, and we're going to take the last one here. So we're going to type 3OW72X8UVB and press submit. And we solved the challenge. So what have we learned? First, we learned that every Android app has an activity, a main activity. That's the entry point to the application. Next, we learned how to look at the source code of an Android app by using the JADX GUI application. And then from there, we started looking at the code and trying to piece together like what, how to solve the challenge. So we see here when we went to field log with garbage, we saw two lines of code that was a particular interest, 125 and 129. The difference between the two was 129 had garbage inside of the string. So that tipped us off like, hey, we probably don't want that one because it's garbage. It's not what we're looking for. And so it's like, 125 is probably what we're looking for because it's the challenge string and we're trying to solve the challenge. Next, we went to the R and we saw that the garbage log string and the challenge string are digits. So it's like, we see here it's a string, but now it's showing as digits. How do we actually get the string equivalent? That's when we went to the resources and went inside resources ARSC and then went to the strings.xml. So again, every Android app will have a strings.xml. And the strings is essentially all of the strings you see here inside of the Android app will be inside of this strings XML. So when we went to the strings XML, we saw we were looking for the challenge string because again, we're trying to solve the challenge. And it says, we found it and it says, this is not garbage. The challenge value is whatever. Finally, we opened the app and we looked at the instructions. And then we noticed for the activity, it was doing a log. So it was, and as the challenge said, it was outputting logs to the app, from the app. So we're using ADB or Android Debug Bridge, and it's like, hey, there's a functionality inside that you can view logs. So we utilize that and we fired up a terminal and we said ADB logcat. That is the command to actually invoke looking at the logs inside of ADB. We piped it, which is a Linux topic. Piping is you take the output of your first command, which in this case is the ADB logcat. We use that output as input to our next command, which again is using the grep, which is searching, and we're searching for the challenge string. This is not garbage. The challenge value is, and whatever. So we did that, pressed enter, and we had a few lines, and we used the last one because that was the most up to date, and we put that into the application and it worked. So the lesson in this video is if you have sensitive information, do not put it in logs. I am sure, well, I shouldn't assume, let me not say that. There is an OWASP, Open Web Application Security Project. But it's not just web, there's mobile, IoT. The OWASP Top 10, which is the 10 most common security vulnerabilities, and one of them is logging. So again, you should not be logging personal information. In this case, it was random numbers, but there have been instances for apps where they've logged credit card numbers without being masked, or social security numbers without being masked. Again, any personal identifiable information, PII, you should not be sending to logs. So again, this challenge is to show, do not send personal information or any secret information into logs because again, you can find it. Putting it in logs does not make it secret. You can, again, comb through the logs and find the secret that you're looking for and exploit it. So I hope you have learned a lot in this video, and I can't wait to see you next week for our next video in the Mobile Monday series. Have a good day. Bye.